don't know, I really like watching Kaya's videos, but like her videos are always on my For You page, so maybe I won't subscribe. I'll just look at the videos whenever they pop up on my feed. Girl, you're afraid of commitment. Subscribe to my channel. Who said that? Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. If you're on TikTok, you might have heard of this up-and-coming trend where people give their hot takes and then they go like, oh my god, who said that? So today we're going to be looking at some theater-related, oh my god, who said that takes. But before we get into that, I want to address something. A lot of you still aren't subscribed to my channel. What's up with that? You should subscribe. If you subscribe, I'll get Jonathan Groff to spit on you. Or not, if that's not your thing. If you subscribe, Jonathan Groff will not spit on you. If you subscribe, Jonathan Groff will spit on you. Press subscribe to claim. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into it.
Without getting spit on, if that's not your thing.
Oh, I already see Cara's DePetro on the feed, and of course we're going to look at this.
Broadway loves to talk about how far they've come in terms of size inclusivity and body diversity on stage, but is still only willing to accept one body type on stage when it comes to men, and nobody is willing to have that conversation. Whoa. That was crazy. Who said that?
Who said that indeed? Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, don't get me wrong, there's still like a giant hole that needs to be filled in regard to body inclusivity for women on stage, but we haven't even started talking about body inclusivity for men on stage. There's only one character that comes to my mind where the description is a plus-size male actor, and that's Patrick in SpongeBob the Musical. I'm looking at the comments. There's this one comment that pops out to me. Taller women can fall in love with men who are shorter. Yes, I feel like we're always casting tall men to play love interests in musicals. What's wrong with short men? Nothing's wrong with short men. Let's cast some short men. But also, we need to normalize plus-sized male actors. Because when I think about it, no, literally, only Patrick Star comes to mind. If you can think of any other ones, drop them down in the comments below, because I'm really racking my brain here.
Maybe theater should stop only having vocal calls and then inviting people back to dance based on how high they can belt, when in reality, some people may be dancers first. Oh my gosh, who said that? What?
Ooh, I think it depends on the role. I agree with this take, but I think it depends on the role. If you're auditioning for Jack Kelly in Newsies, Jack does not dance. We could tell by watching Jeremy Jordan that Jack Kelly does not dance. So in this case, it makes sense for casting to look for strong singers first and then do a dance call afterwards. However, if it's something like a chorus line, I think you should obviously do a dance call before a vocal call. Like I said, I think it depends on what show you're casting and the specifics of the characters you're casting. But I agree, I half agree with this take. I think this is an okay take to have.
A lot of non-POC artists claim that they want to see more diversity in the theater and entertainment space, but then when it involves creating stories or making actual casting choices that aren't centered around the white experience, they start saying things like being white isn't popular anymore, or it's hard to be cast as a white person, which means that they were never for actual diversity and inclusion. They were only for the appearance of diversity when it didn't actually affect them.
Who said that? It's like the walls are haunted or something.
100% agree. My senior year of high school, I took AP Research. For those of you who don't know about AP or AP Research, basically my entire class was creating a study throughout the entire year and then presenting my study at the end of the year. And my entire research project was about racial and gender discrimination in high school theater. And in addition to doing the study, I had to do a lot of research about discrimination in theater as well. I found in my research that, actually, let me bring up my paper. Ugh. Finally, I get to talk about my paper. Yeah, my paper was called The Implications of Race, Gender, and Sexual Orientation When Studying Discrimination in High School Theater. In the literature review section of my study, I wrote, Michael Cody conducted a numerical analysis of 799 theatrical productions from 6 equity theaters in Milwaukee from 2000 to 2020. When researching the comparison of race and gender of the playwrights who put on these productions, Cody found that the percentage of white male playwrights increased over the 20-year period at about 10 times more than that of BIPOC playwrights. In the 2017 to 2018 New York City theater season, 61.5% of available roles in the industry went to white actors. Black actors received 23.3%, Asian Americans received 6.9%, Latinx actors received 6.1%, MENA received 2%, and Indigenous actors received 0.2%. Bandu et al. In 2018 also found that some theaters were redlining the most diverse stories to the smallest stages, which correlated with lower salaries, creating a system of economic inequality. Basically, they took the Black and BIPOC stories and put them in the smallest theaters with the least financial stability. So yes, I absolutely agree with this take. If we say we want to uplift diverse voices, how about we actually put them on Broadway? How about we put them off Broadway? How about we put them in regional theaters and not just stick them in the small theaters where they'll only be able to run for a month because they don't have the money to put it on? Honestly, I think the Broadway League, or at least anybody who collects information about casting on Broadway, needs to make this information more relevant and available to the public so they can see the statistics of who's getting cast and who's not. Anyway, that was my little rant, including my my senior paper. Let me know if you want to read all of it. It covers, like, in my literature review at least, it covers stereotypes, lack of representation, which we just talked about, and then it includes my actual study where I interviewed people from different high schools in my area, and like, it has graphs. If graphs are your thing, it's got charts, it's got numbers and statistics, and it's like 20-something pages. And I got a 4 on the exam, just so you all know. But anyways, moving on.
People love to say theater is an inclusive space, but the musical theater college audition process isn't accessible, and it caters to the students who have support from parents and coaches and expensive training, which creates a lack of true diversity in these top programs.
God, who said that?
Who said that? We said that. Let me tell you something. I had no effing clue what I was doing during my college audition process. I had no coaching. My parents didn't have any experience in musical theater, so how are they going to know how this process was like? I was totally on my own. I think that what's it called? MTCP needs to be adjusted a little bit. I need to be careful what I say because one of my instructors at my school helped invent this process. I was so inexperienced. I had no help. I had no coaching. And I think it needs to be more simplified for kids who don't have the privilege of being able to pay all this money for a coach to tell them what to sing and why. I had to go through my own process, and in the beginning it was absolute hell. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just singing stuff because people told me I should, while other people were telling me that I shouldn't do that. I should sing all these other things. I didn't understand why I was required to do 2 monologues from the same era when I could do a contemporary and a Shakespeare. I wasn't sure what admissions was looking for in my dance. Were they looking for technical or were they just looking for storytelling? What's with the ballet option? Like, none of the colleges I applied to had the ballet option, but it's an option. I was so confused on why wild card was an option, because if it's optional, then I don't want to do it, to be honest, because I was already freaking myself out over the required section. But on the other hand, if it's optional, shouldn't you do it anyway to provide some sort of aspect into your life? Again, if my instructor who helped invent MTCP sees this, please know that this is out of the love of my heart to everyone who has yet to go through this process, and I want to make it as simple and unconfusing as possible for them. Next.
You don't need to belt every single musical theater number out there because not every song calls for it emotionally or stylistically. And if you are, that means you're not putting your storytelling first, which as actors we need to do. Oh my gosh, who just said that?
Yes, I've talked about this before as a legit soprano who doesn't like belting. I will say yes, there's time for belting if it contributes to your character. I can think off the bat of a couple of songs where the character adding in a belt or an opt-up or a riff would make sense. Like, the first thing that comes to my mind is I'm Here from The Color Purple. I think Cynthia Erivo.
An actual booster seat.
I think that, like, putting in some options there makes total sense for the character given what she's experiencing in that song. But not every song needs to be belty. We have come across a whole belt dilemma in the industry, but I'm not going to get into that because we would be here for hours. Next.
Did you deserve that role, or are you just a senior?
Yo!
Who
the
said
fork
that?
said that?
Listen. I know that high schools have a big controversy around seniority. As long as you put in the work, I think it's fine. It doesn't matter if you're a senior or you're like an underclassman. If you have a lead role, if you put in the work, you'll be fine.
Do you really like him, or did your characters flirt in the show and you can't tell the difference between real life and acting?
Who said that?
Who said that?
Are you actually a bad actor, or did you just have to speak a song like a monologue and then thought you were bad because you couldn't do it? Who said that?
This is an excellent take, Rachel. I love Rachel. Hi, if you're watching this, oh my god, you're watching this. This is an excellent take. I hate reading songs like monologues because it makes me think like, oh, I've literally done zero work in my acting and I fucking suck. I promise you, you don't. It's just the activity. It's the activity. It's so bad having to read songs like monologues. It is acting trauma. You're right, Rachel.
Hey, stop refreshing that page on Callback Corner. Just because you're there every 5 minutes doesn't mean you're going to get the answer any faster. Just hold on. It'll be fine. Hello? Who said that?
This is me. Not with Callback Corner, but like if I ever submit a tape or availability for a job, even just like commercial jobs, I'm always like refreshing my email page, being like, did they get back to me? Did they get back to me? I know. I need to chill out a little bit.
It's almost impossible to give a good dramatic reading of a monologue in 1 minute! Who said that? Wait, who said that though?
Oh my god! Yes! Another thing about MTCP. You had to do a monologue in like 60 seconds or less. I'm pretty sure. Wait, let me fact check that. Monologues are generally 60 to 90 seconds. Okay. You shouldn't have your monologue be 60 seconds. It needs to be 90. Honestly, if I'm really pushing it, it should be more than 90 seconds because you need to emote. you need to put some emotion in there, okay? I don't think it's accommodating for like pauses that are necessary within the monologue or any type of acting choice. Yeah, I think it needs to be longer than 90 seconds, in my opinion.
Do you dislike that musical for a genuine and critical reason, or do you just love getting on the hate bandwagon like it's your job and dislike every musical that you don't see a part for you in? Oh my gosh, who said that? That was uncalled for.
Ooh, yeah, I have a problem with this. When I think something like, I really don't like this musical or I hate this musical, I genuinely have to ask myself, is it because I can't see myself playing any role in this show? And sometimes I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that is why I hate it. It's something to think about.
A lot of community theaters pride themselves on inclusivity and acceptance while simultaneously charging outrageous amounts of money just to have a chance to audition for their shows and then go on to cast the same exact 5 people in every single one of their shows.
Who said that?
I have never heard of people being charged to audition. That is crazy. I mean, of course I've heard of theaters where you have to pay to be in them, but to pay to audition? I mean, like, you have to be cast then, right? It's like, you're paying. You're just gonna pay, like, $50 to not be cast? They have to cast you. They have to.
All you're gonna do is just cast your friends or the same people that you've been working with for the past 10 to 20 years. Stop complaining about the lack of new talent or holding open auditions for shows you know damn good and well have already been cast. All that shows is that you're not a good company to work with, and that just creates bad reputation for yourself.
I'm talking to you, Heathers Off-Broadway. You really think that they were gonna cast someone from that open call? Be f***ing for real. I know a lot of the jobs you get in the industry is based off connections, and that's true, and it's important. But at what point is it too much? Where the only people you're casting are people you have connections with. Every year, thousands of people graduate with a degree in theater, in musical theater, in dance. How many of those fresh faces are you casting for projects? Almost none of them. We need more fresh faces in theater. It's time. It's time to stop casting all the people we already know about. And it's time to start casting people who apply to open calls when you put the open call out in the first place, instead of just casting the same people from UM, CCM, Boston Conservatory. I lost my cool for a second. we're gonna move on.
Just because you bought the ticket does not mean that you're allowed to behave however you want. This goes for cinemas, theme parks, Ren fairs, live theaters, concert venues, etc. You buy the ticket and agree to follow that business's policies in order to receive their goods and services. If you are unable to follow those policies and actively go against them and diminish the quality of the experience for other paying guests around you and make the jobs of the employees much harder than it needs to be, then they have every right to ask you to leave. And just saying, I bought the ticket, I can do what I want, does not automatically grant you any kind of right to just act out and be belligerently disrespectful to the people around you. If you go to a theme park and start hopping over fences, an employee might tell you to not do that and to get back into the safe area. They don't need to mind their own business. They are. You're at their business. And they're trying to keep you safe and also keep their own jobs. So you are an entitled piece of shit if you are caught doing something that is against a business's rules, they tell you to stop, and you turn around and say, that makes you the bad person. Who said that?
What has happened to theater etiquette? No, I'm genuinely asking, what has happened to theater etiquette within the past decade? Because let me tell you, it used to be up here. It used to be respectable, decent people who knew that when you went to a theater, you sat down, you turned off your phone, you watched the show without singing through the whole thing. You were respectful to the ushers, to the front of house staff, and then you politely waited until after curtain call to go and stage door. And when you went to stage door, you were respectful to all the actors and didn't creep them out. What has happened to theater etiquette? The amount of times I have gone to see shows and have seen things that have made me genuinely flabbergasted. I went to go see Hamilton for the first time as the kid who got into musical theater because my friends got me to listen to Hamilton. This was a dream come true to me. I had finally been able to get student discount tickets to see Hamilton. It was in the very back row. I was in the back of the balcony, the back of the back, but I was so excited. And you know what happened the entire time? The lady next to me was humming all of the songs. All of them. My experience was ruined. I went to go see Hamilton in the West End back in January when I went to London. Do you want to know what was happening in front of me? The row in front of me, there were 3 ladies, and these 3 ladies were actively on their phones trying to record. And you know what happened with one of them? Her flash was turned on. So she went to go take photos. The flash would turn on in this dark, dark theater, and then would hide it, and then went to go take another photo. The flash was still on. When we tell you we're going to remove you if you film the show, we should actually do that. How many chances are you going to give someone? 10? 20? How about one? One chance. And if you do it again, you're getting kicked out. I don't care if you spent $20 getting a balcony seat in the back row, or if you spent $200 getting an orchestra seat. If you take your phone out multiple times to try to film a show, you should be kicked out. Stage door etiquette is so out the window. You know what I just saw recently? Rachel Zegler is currently on the West End playing the title role in Evita, and I just saw a video of someone trying to insult her bodyguard.
Rob, he's just protecting me. No. He works here and he's helping me because crowds are very, very intimidating. I know, babe, and I love you so much, but please don't disrespect my Danny, okay?
Like, hello? And she's like calmly talking to this grown-ass man, telling him, this is my bodyguard, he's here to keep me safe, I'm happy to take photos with you, I'm happy to sign your playbill, but please treat my staff with respect. At this point, we should cancel stage dooring. At this point, we don't deserve it. This is why we can't have nice things. Etiquette is out the window these days, and someone needs to put it back in its place.
Was you late for rehearsal because there was traffic, or were you stuck in a drive-thru this whole time?
Okay, no need to call me out. Oh my god, I'm just so aggravated now that I'm gonna end the video there. But before I do, let me do my own little take. At the end of the day, the theater industry saying we appreciate the ensemble, understudy, swings, and standbys are just empty words because the industry fails to adequately pay these people for the outstanding work they do, even though many of these actors do much more work than leading and supporting actors, and they also fail to establish recognition for these people. If you actually care about the people who maintain a stable foundation for Broadway shows, pay them accordingly and give them a Tony category. Otherwise, don't waste your breath. Oh my god, who said that? I said that. Anyways, this was watching TikToks of the Who Said That Theater Edition. I hope you enjoyed. Write down your own Who Said That in the comments below. It feels weird to say the Who Said That. Just write your own takes about theater down in the comments below. And also make sure to subscribe. I'm trying to reach 100 subscribers by the time I move to NYC to go to acting school. That's all for today, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!
Do you really hate the arts, or are you just closed-minded and boring?